in the remote colony of Nova Arcadia, far beyond the known sectors of the galaxy. Life moved at a slow, steady pace. The market was bustling, but it was nothing like the crowded metropolises humans had once built on Earth. Here, alien merchants sold strange fruits that glowed softly, fabrics that shimmered in colors Ethan had never seen, and devices that hummed with faint energy. Steam curled up from the cups of coffee sold at small stalls, and the rich aroma mixed strangely with scents of unknown spices and minerals. Ethan, a young human explorer with bright, curious eyes, walked alone through the market. His boots clinked softly against the metal tiles, and his hands wrapped tightly around a steaming cup of coffee. He enjoyed moments like this, quiet moments of peace in a chaotic galaxy. Though the colony was far from his home, he felt a strange sense of belonging here. As he wandered past alien merchants, he noticed how the different species of the galaxy moved. Some were tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like glass. Others were squat and bulky, with multiple eyes that seemed to see everything. Ethan smiled faintly at their peculiar gestures, nodding politely to a merchant who bowed in greeting. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath his feet. At first, it was subtle, a tiny vibration that made the coffee ripple in its cup, but within seconds, the tremor grew into a violent shake. Merchants cried out in alarm, children screamed, and the aroma of coffee and spices seemed to thicken in the air. Then came the roar. It was not like anything Ethan had heard before. It was deep, rolling, echoing across the colony. His heart pounded in his chest. He froze, gripping his cup tightly. The market went silent, as if the entire colony was holding its breath. From the shadows at the edge of the market, a colossal figure emerged. It moved with terrifying grace, scales glimmering like jewels under the dim light of Nova Arcadia's twin suns. Blues, purples, and silvers shifted across its massive body, reflecting like water rippling in sunlight. Its wings were folded against its back, yet the sheer size of them suggested a creature capable of flying above the tallest mountains of a planet. The dragon's eyes, enormous and glowing like stars themselves, scanned the crowd. Panic rippled through the colony. Merchants grabbed their goods and ran. Parents scooped up their children and fled. Even the security drones whirred and zoomed nervously around the creature, unsure of how to react. But Ethan did not move. He stood frozen, his curiosity stronger than his fear. There was something about the dragon, something that made him feel calm, even safe. Most people saw only a monster, a beast capable of destroying the colony in minutes. But Ethan saw intelligence in those glowing eyes, an awareness that stretched far beyond the simple instincts of a predator. The dragon's gaze fell on him. Ethan's pulse raced, but he did not step back. Slowly, he raised his hands, trying to appear non-threatening. He held out his cup of coffee, the steam curling gently between them. The dragon sniffed cautiously, nostrils flaring. Smoke escaped its mouth in faint wisps. Ethan could feel the heat radiating from its body, and the air around him seemed charged with energy. The dragon tilted its massive head, studying him. Every muscle in its body was tense, yet it did not advance, did not strike. It seemed curious. Ethan swallowed hard. His hand shook, but he did not lower the cup. I just wanted to share this, he said softly, almost to himself. I thought maybe you might like it. Time seemed to stretch. The entire market held its breath. A humming silence filled the space between human and dragon. And then, slowly, the dragon leaned forward. Its enormous eyes never left Ethan's face, but its head lowered and its long, forked tongue flicked gently at the rim of the cup. The dragon sipped. A collective gasp erupted from the crowd. Some screamed in awe, some in fear, and some simply stared, mouths open. Unable to comprehend what they had just witnessed, the dragon set its massive head down. Blinking slowly, it made a sound, low and resonant, almost like a purr, that vibrated through the ground. It circled Ethan slowly, inspecting him from every angle. The young human did not flinch. He stayed calm, steady, and patient, offering nothing but quiet respect and kindness. A small smile tugged at the corner of Ethan's lips. See, I'm not so scary, he whispered. The dragon paused. Its eyes softened slightly, glowing with an almost human-like intelligence. Ethan felt a warmth spread through his chest, a connection forming between them that went beyond words. Somehow, he knew that this was the beginning of something extraordinary around them. The market began to recover from its shock. Merchants peered from behind their stalls, eyes wide. Children, previously crying, stared with fascination. Rumors would spread fast already. People whispered about the human brave enough to face a dragon with nothing but a cup of coffee. The dragon lowered its head again, closer this time, as if asking for more. Ethan hesitated for only a moment before filling the cup from his thermos and holding it out. The dragon accepted it, gently this time, with care that seemed almost ceremonial. Ethan could feel every eye in the market on him, every whisper, and every breath held in suspense. And in that moment, he realized something incredible. A small act, simple and kind, had captured the attention of the galaxy's most fearsome creature. A chill ran down his spine. Could this tiny human really tame the galaxy's fiercest creature? Or was this a trap, a test he did not understand? His heart pounded, not with fear, but with the thrilling sense of destiny. Something far bigger than himself was unfolding here, and he was at the center of it. The dragon lifted its massive head, eyes locking with Ethan's. There was intelligence there, ancient and wise, but also curiosity and something else, approval. The human smiled, raising his cup once more in silent acknowledgement. The dragon dipped its head in return. The market erupted into murmurs and gasps, but Ethan barely noticed. For the first time in his life, he felt a connection that transcended species, language, and even worlds. A bond was forming. A simple cup of coffee, shared in courage and kindness, had bridged a gap that many thought impossible. And somewhere deep in the shadows of Nova Arcadia, whispers began to spread across the galaxy tales of a human who dared to share coffee with a dragon, and what that act might mean for the universe. Days passed in Nova Arcadia, and the colony began to accept that the dragon had not attacked anyone. Its presence, though still terrifying, became a strange kind of wonder. Children whispered in awe, pointing at the shadows of the massive creature perched atop the rooftops, watching the colony with glowing eyes. Merchants cautiously returned to their stalls, scanning the sky for the dragon's wings before stepping outside. But Ethan noticed something extraordinary. The dragon never chased, never struck, and never breathed fire on the humans. It followed him. At first, it was subtle. A shadow above an alley, a flicker of color across the skyline. Ethan would glance up, and there it was, just watching, observing, patient as a stone. Sometimes it would tilt its head and roar softly, almost like a greeting. Other times, it would simply vanish into the clouds, only to reappear hours later. Ethan began leaving small gifts, almost instinctively. A fresh cup of coffee in the morning, a piece of roasted meat from the market, or a shiny trinket he found in his travels. Each item was placed carefully, almost ceremoniously, on the ground or a high ledge. At first, the dragon ignored them, but slowly, it began to respond. The first time it lowered its massive head to accept the gift. Ethan held his breath. The dragon's huge eyes locked on him, glowing brighter than the morning suns. And it dipped its head in what Ethan could only describe as gratitude. A small, rumbling sound vibrated through the air, like a gentle purr from a creature far too large to purr. It was the beginning of a bond. The dragon began curling its massive body around Ethan when danger was near. A protective instinct that left the young human both awed and terrified. On one occasion, a group of rogue traders tried to sneak into the colony, weapons hidden beneath their cloaks. The dragon swooped silently from the rooftops, its wings casting shadows like storm clouds. With one roar, the intruders froze and fled, never daring to return. Ethan stood among the witnesses, his heart racing, realizing that the galaxy's fiercest creature now trusted him, and perhaps depended on him. Word of this unusual friendship spread fast. Across the sector, transmissions flickered with images and videos, a lone human walking calmly beside a dragon. Holo news channels ran stories in disbelief. A human befriends a dragon the colony watches in awe, said one broadcast. Are humans becoming the new guardians of the galaxy? Another questioned. Some were skeptical. Others were terrified. Most were fascinated. Other colonies began sending representatives, not always friendly, to observe the creature. Some brought scholars hoping to study it. Some brought soldiers, fearful of the power it represented. But every attempt to approach the dragon failed. It would growl low in its throat, curling protectively around Ethan, wings spreading slightly, not threatening humans directly, but radiating sheer, undeniable authority. Ethan began learning more about the dragon through these encounters. He discovered that the creature was ancient, far older than any recorded memory of the galaxy. Its scales shimmered not just with color, but with patterns that hinted at a complex intelligence. Its eyes seemed to see more than the present, they reflected past events, perhaps even the future. Every time Ethan looked into them, he felt like he was staring into a mind sharper than the most advanced AI known to humankind. One evening, as the twin suns of Nova Arcadia set, Ethan sat on the edge of a balcony with a cup of coffee in hand. The dragon landed silently beside him, claws careful not to crush the metal balcony. Ethan offered his cup. The dragon drank, and then it lowered its massive head closer. Pressing it against his shoulder in what felt like trust, Ethan whispered, "I don't know why you chose me, but I'm glad you did." The dragon did not answer, of course, but its eyes softened in a way that felt almost human. Ethan realized that this bond was more than survival or curiosity. It was mutual respect. He was not trying to tame the dragon. He was simply being kind. And the dragon, in its ancient way, recognized that. Yet questions remained. Why had the dragon chosen him? Why had it allowed a human to approach, to offer gifts, to stand so close without fear? Ethan could feel that its silence carried secrets older than any civilization, older than Nova Arcadia itself. Some nights, when the colony slept, the dragon would stretch its wings and soar high above, circling the city as if listening to the stars. Ethan would watch, heart in his throat, wondering what the dragon saw. Its flight patterns were precise, deliberate, almost ritualistic. Perhaps it was observing the galaxy, or perhaps it was testing him, measuring whether he was worthy of trust, despite its massive size and terrifying appearance. Ethan discovered moments of tenderness. Once, a small creature no bigger than a human child ran into the dragon's path by accident. The dragon froze. Ethan gasped, but instead of striking, it lowered its enormous head, gently nudging the tiny creature aside with a claw, careful not to harm. Ethan realized that this creature was more than a beast. It had wisdom, compassion, and judgment beyond anything humans could easily understand. Rumors about Ethan and the dragon reached farther than the colony. Ships from distant sectors arrived to witness the spectacle. Traders, scholars, explorers, and even bounty hunters came to see if the stories were true. The dragon tolerated none of them, protecting Ethan silently, enforcing a strange but unspoken rule. No one could approach him without permission. Yet, with every passing day, Ethan felt more at home in the colony. People began to look at him differently, seeing not just a human, but a human who could communicate with one of the galaxy's most powerful and ancient beings. Children would wave, and the dragon would lower its head in acknowledgement. Traders would leave gifts for Ethan, hoping to gain the dragon's favor. And throughout it all, Ethan remained humble. He understood that the power was not his, it belonged to the bond they shared. But the galaxy is never quiet for long. Strange signals began to appear on the colony's communication networks. Ships were sighted at the edge of the system, their intentions unknown. And sometimes, Ethan could swear he saw the dragon's eyes reflect worry and emotion it had never shown before. One evening, as the sun set again and the city lights flickered to life, the dragon perched beside Ethan on the balcony, scales shimmering in the orange glow. It looked down at the city and then back at him. Ethan understood, without words, that this bond, though powerful, might soon be tested. Something was coming. Something big. Ethan raised his cup once more. The dragon leaned forward and drank. And in that moment, he realized that their friendship was no longer just between a human and a dragon. It had begun to ripple across the galaxy. Suspense hook. What secrets does the dragon carry? And why has it chosen Ethan? And will the galaxy accept a human who walks beside a dragon as an equal? Or will fear turn allies into enemies? The news of Ethan and the dragon traveled faster than light across the galaxy. Holo networks buzzed with disbelief. News channels repeated footage of the colossal dragon walking calmly beside a human. And debates erupted in every sector. Scholars questioned the science behind it. Soldiers feared the implications. Leaders argued about whether a human could hold such influence. And among the governing bodies of the galaxy, one name came up in hushed tones more than any other: the Galactic Council. The Council, a coalition of the most advanced civilizations, had never acknowledged a human as a being of consequence. Humans were known for their ingenuity, yes, but they were small, fragile, and unpredictable. Dragons, on the other hand, were ancient, powerful, and feared by every intelligent species that had encountered them. That a human not only approached a dragon but befriended one was unheard of. Ethan's message came quietly at first, a summons. A simple holocall from the council requesting him to appear in the grand chamber of Nova Prime, the capital of galactic law. He stood in the council hall hours later, a place massive enough to hold dozens of towering species, each seated in ornate chairs shaped to reflect their anatomy and culture. At the far end, a massive holographic emblem of the council rotated slowly a galaxy, spinning in golden light, crowned with stars from every inhabited system. Behind him, the dragon landed softly, its claws making dull thuds against the polished floor. Its wings folded majestically along its back. The members of the council froze, eyes wide with disbelief. No human had ever entered this chamber with a dragon at their side. The murmur of whispers swept through the room. No human has ever approached one of them, let alone befriended it, a council member whispered, his voice trembling. Another shook their tentacle-like appendages in disbelief. How is this possible? Ethan kept his gaze steady. He had practiced nothing for this moment. There were no speeches, no explanations rehearsed in advance. He only knew one thing: honesty. He stepped forward and bowed lightly before the council. I shared coffee with it, he said softly, voice echoing in the vast chamber. That's all. I offered it a simple cup of coffee, and it responded. That is how our bond began. For a moment, there was silence. The council members stared at him as if he were joking. Some scoffed openly. A few shook their heads. Preposterous, one said. You expect us to believe a human commands a dragon through coffee? The dragon shifted slightly, wings brushing the floor, scales catching the light in every color of the spectrum. It made no threatening move, no fire, no growl. It simply watched, calm, intelligent, and entirely composed. The council members whispered nervously among themselves. Advanced minds, trained in diplomacy, war, and interstellar strategy, found themselves frozen. A human, small and fragile, stood in the center of the room. A dragon, the most feared and revered creature in the galaxy, bowed its massive head in the human's direction. Then it happened. The dragon's great head lowered slowly, deliberately, until it was nearly touching the floor. The chamber gasped. Lights flickered on the walls as holographic systems attempted to interpret the act. A soft rumble filled the hall, vibrating through the floor, the seats, the very air itself. The council fell silent. A moment later, holographic screens across the chamber lit up. Words scrolled in multiple galactic languages. Human recognized as dragon's equal. Title: Your Majesty. The words echoed through the chamber, bouncing off walls and ceilings. The council members looked around at each other in shock. Some paled, some blinked in disbelief, and others leaned forward, murmuring rapidly. A few older species who had faced dragons in battle before let out audible gasps. Ethan felt the weight of the moment. He did not move. He did not bow further. The dragon's presence behind him was immense, but it was calm, protective, respectful. The council could see it clearly. No one could touch this human, not without angering a creature whose rage could destroy entire planets. One of the council elders, a being with translucent skin and eyes like liquid silver, rose from their seat. This is unprecedented, they said. A human has been recognized as the equal of a dragon. And yet, why? Ethan looked into the dragon's glowing eyes, then back at the council. "I did not command it," he said honestly. "I shared something simple, coffee. I offered kindness, and it responded. That is all." The chamber erupted again, this time not in whispers, but in debate. Some argued that the recognition was symbolic only, meaningless in real terms. Others said it demonstrated the extraordinary nature of humans, small, fragile, yet capable of forging connections that even the galaxy's oldest beings could not ignore. And all the while, the dragon stayed perfectly still, head bowed. Watching Ethan, it had not moved aggressively once. Its mere presence, coupled with its acknowledgement of Ethan, spoke louder than any words could. Hours passed, arguments flared, holographic projections displayed every possible scenario, threats to colonies, interstellar politics, even historical records of dragons and humans. Every calculation, every simulation, led to one unavoidable truth: the human and the dragon shared a bond. And like anything the galaxy had ever seen, finally, the elder with the silver eyes spoke again, this time with measured calm. "Perhaps we have underestimated humans. Perhaps the galaxy is larger than our fears. If a human can earn the respect of a dragon through kindness alone, then perhaps they deserve a place among us." Ethan blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. The words carried weight, but so did the fear in the room. Not all council members nodded in agreement. Some looked ready to vote for containment, even destruction. Fear was a strong motivator, and dragons were dangerous, even with a human by their side. The dragon shifted its massive head slightly, as if nudging the council toward understanding. It was patient, deliberate, showing the galaxy that violence was not necessary. Intelligence, respect, and trust could achieve what fear never could, for Ethan. The moment was surreal. A simple cup of coffee, something he had offered in kindness, had carried him to the halls of galactic power. It had earned him a title no human had ever held, Your Majesty. And yet, even as recognition filled the room, tension lingered. Would the council fully accept him as an equal? Or would fear and tradition win, leading to an attempt to separate the human from the dragon, possibly destroying both? The dragon lowered its head once more, nudging Ethan gently, and the young human understood without words this was just the beginning. Whatever awaited them in the galaxy beyond these walls would test not just courage, but trust, wisdom, and the fragile bond between species that most considered impossible. Even after the dragon bowed to Ethan and the council named him Your Majesty, not everyone was satisfied. Some council members whispered behind closed doors, questioning whether a human could truly hold such a place. To them, dragons were forces of nature, symbols of raw power. A human, small, fragile, unpredictable? How could one possibly be trusted with a creature so mighty? A decision was made. A test. Ethan would need to prove his courage, his wisdom, and his humanity. He would face the trial of courage, a dangerous journey designed not to punish, but to reveal the true character of a being. He would not go alone. The dragon, his silent protector, would accompany him. The destination was a volatile asteroid field at the edge of the sector, notorious across the galaxy. Rogue AI hunters, left over from a forgotten war, patrolled the field relentlessly. They attacked anything alive or mechanical. Navigating through it required skill, bravery, and trust in one's own instincts. And in companions, Ethan climbed into an old StarCraft station near the edge of Nova Arcadia. Its controls were outdated, clunky, and unpredictable, but it was the best the council could offer. The dragon stretched its wings and roared, a sound that vibrated through the hull, reminding Ethan of the immense power at his side. "Ready?" Ethan asked, gripping the controls tightly. The dragon's glowing eyes met his. A flick of its head and a low rumble seemed to say, "I am with you. Trust yourself." With a deep breath, Ethan pushed the throttle. The StarCraft shuddered and lifted off. Behind him, the dragon soared into the sky, wings cutting through the void with breathtaking speed. Together, they approached the asteroid field. The first challenge appeared almost immediately. Massive rocks, some larger than entire colonies, drifted unpredictably, colliding and tumbling through space. Ethan's hands moved rapidly over the controls, dodging and weaving through the deadly terrain. The dragon swooped beside him, using its immense size to shield the starcraft from the smaller, faster asteroids. Steady. Steady, Ethan muttered to himself. His heart raced, but his mind remained clear. Panic would only make the task impossible. He recalled the lessons he had learned while navigating markets, alien cities, and now, his own courage, calm, patience, observation. That had always been the key. As they advanced deeper, a new threat emerged: rogue AI hunters. Machines long abandoned by civilizations, they had learned to hunt, attack, and eliminate anything considered a threat. Sleek, metallic, and deadly, they glided silently between the asteroids, scanning for life forms. One detected the starcraft. A beam of light shot toward them, warning of imminent attack. Ethan's instincts kicked in. He maneuvered the ship sharply, weaving around the asteroids, and activated the old ship's defense systems. Missiles launched from the starcraft, narrowly missing both rocks and enemy AI units. The dragon dove, wings extended, smashing two AI hunters into fragments with a single swipe of its tail. Sparks and debris floated in the void. Good. Good, Ethan shouted, heart pounding. The dragon roared in response, a sound that echoed like thunder through space. It was not anger. It was approval, a recognition of skill and courage. Hours passed. The field seemed endless. Each maneuver tested Ethan's calm mind, his quick thinking, and his ability to act under pressure. He learned to anticipate the rogue AI, predict the movement of asteroids, and coordinate silently with the dragon. Sometimes, he would glance at the massive creatures soaring beside him, and they would exchange a silent understanding. No words were needed. Trust had formed between them, a bond stronger than any chain or protocol. Then came the cosmic storm. Lightning crackled through the void, not of atmosphere, but energy storms that twisted and tore at spacecraft electronics. Ethan's starcraft flickered. Systems failed. Warnings blared in his ears. The dragon dove low, shielding the ship with its immense body as arcs of energy struck nearby. Ethan gritted his teeth, manually overriding the failing systems. Every lever, button, and switch demanded attention. One wrong move, and they would be lost in the storm forever. Sweat dripped down Ethan's brow. His hands ached, yet he did not panic. Step by step, he repaired circuits, recalibrated engines, and relied on intuition honed over years of exploration. The dragon's wings beat steadily above, generating protective air currents, and nudging dangerous debris away. Together, human and dragon moved like a single organism, a partnership forged in danger and trust. After what felt like an eternity, they emerged from the storm. The asteroid field still stretched before them, but the worst was over. Ethan's chest heaved, and he looked over at the dragon. Its massive head dipped in approval once again. Sparks of pride shone in its glowing eyes. "You're amazing," Ethan whispered, laughing despite the adrenaline. The dragon's low rumble was a response that felt almost like a smile. But the final challenge awaited. At the edge of the field, a massive asteroid blocked the exit. Its surface bristled with AI sentries, laser cannons, and hidden traps. It was a fortress in space, designed to test even the most skilled pilots and their companions. Ethan's mind raced. He knew brute force would not work. The starcraft could barely withstand a direct hit, and the dragon, though powerful, could not destroy every weapon without risking themselves. He needed strategy, ingenuity, calm thinking. He studied the asteroid carefully. Patterns emerged in the movement of the AI units, slight delays in firing sequences, and the rotation of the asteroid itself. Using this knowledge, Ethan guided the starcraft through narrow gaps, dodged lasers, and positioned the dragon at key points to sweep away sentries blocking the path. Minutes stretched like hours. Every heart-pounding maneuver tested both courage and patience. One wrong move, and they could be trapped forever. Yet Ethan's calm mind, combined with the dragon's strength and intuition, allowed them to navigate the obstacle. Finally, they cleared the last sentry. The asteroid fortress faded behind them, and the open void of space stretched ahead. Ethan exhaled, relief washing over him. He looked at the dragon. The dragon roared a deep, powerful sound that shook the void. But this time, It was not a warning. It was approval, recognition, celebration. Ethan had proven himself, not just in bravery, but in wisdom, calmness, and humanity. He had shown that a small human could act with courage that rivaled even the galaxy's oldest beings. For the first time, Ethan felt the true weight of their bond. He was no longer just a friend to the dragon. They were partners, companions who trusted each other completely. Together, they had survived dangers that would have crushed most beings. Together, they had proven that courage and intelligence could surpass brute strength. As they approached the edge of the asteroid field, Ethan whispered, "We did it. We made it." The dragon dipped its massive head gently toward him, wings stretching in a majestic arc across the void. But even as the relief washed over them, Ethan knew the galaxy would not forget this trial. This was only one test, and more awaited. The Council, the skeptics, and the unknown dangers beyond the stars would all be watching. The question remained, could this human and dragon alliance survive whatever came next? Suspense took. Could they survive the final challenge, or would fear, envy, and cosmic danger destroy the bond they had forged in the heart of the galaxy? The trial was over. The asteroid field lay behind them, silent and still in the void of space. Ethan wiped the sweat from his brow and exhaled deeply, feeling a mixture of relief and pride. Beside him, the dragon's massive wings flared once, then folded gracefully, scales shimmering in the faint starlight. Its glowing eyes met his, and a gentle rumble vibrated through the hull of the starcraft, a sound Ethan had learned over time to read like a language: approval, pride, friendship, returning to Nova Prime. The capital of the Galactic Council was nothing like before. The city stretched like a web of shining towers and hovering platforms, lit by the light of distant stars. Ships of every shape, color, and size filled the skyways, carrying beings from countless worlds. But this time, all eyes were on Ethan and the dragon. Every comm channel, every holographic feed, every public viewing space transmitted live images of the human who had dared the impossible. When they entered the Grand Council chamber, silence fell. The massive doors parted, and the members of the council rose from their seats. For a moment, it seemed the entire galaxy held its breath. Ethan stepped forward, calm and humble, while the dragon followed, its enormous frame filling the space with awe-inspiring presence. "Your Majesty." One of the elder members began cautiously, "You have returned, and survived the trial of courage. The Council, we acknowledge your accomplishment." Ethan bowed lightly, though he felt no need for grand gestures. The dragon lowered its head slightly behind him, casting long shadows across the polished floor. The council members exchanged nervous glances. They had seen the bond firsthand. They had felt the power, the intelligence, the restraint, and the loyalty. There was no denying it. Reluctantly at first, then with growing respect, the council bowed. Not out of fear, but out of recognition. Here was a human small, fragile, and unarmed who had walked beside a dragon, survived cosmic dangers, and proven himself through courage, wisdom, and humanity. This was no ordinary human. This was someone who had earned a title beyond comprehension. News of their return spread instantly. Across colonies, transmissions carried the images, Ethan standing beside the dragon, both triumphant, both calm. Holofeeds showed the duo soaring above the city as citizens below watched in wonder. Scholars, soldiers, and explorers alike debated in awe. A human shared coffee with a dragon, they said, and survived where others would have perished. Across the galaxy, humans looked up in amazement. Children on remote colonies stopped playing, mouths open, gazing at the stars. Parents whispered the story to their children, their voices filled with pride and hope. It was not a story of war, conquest, or fear. It was a story of kindness, a story of courage, a story that reminded the galaxy that humans, though small, could achieve greatness through simple acts of heart. Ethan walked through the city streets, the dragon beside him, careful not to harm anything in its immense size. People bowed or stepped aside instinctively. Some approached hesitantly, hoping to witness the bond firsthand. Ethan smiled at them, offering small gestures of kindness, a nod, a wave, even a shared coffee from the thermos he always carried. Each gesture reinforced the message that strength came not from domination, but from empathy. The dragon soared above, wings stretching wide across the cosmos, scales reflecting the starlight like a living constellation. Every movement was precise, majestic, and powerful. It circled Ethan, nudging him gently with its massive head, as if to say, "You are one of us now. You belong to the galaxy in ways you never imagined." Ethan raised a cup of coffee in his hand, offering it silently to the dragon. It drank carefully, dipping its head in the gesture that had started this incredible journey. Around them, cameras and holos captured every movement, every detail, broadcasting to countless worlds. A simple act of cup of coffee had become a symbol of human potential, courage, and diplomacy. The whispers began immediately, across star systems, through colonies and space stations. People spoke the words in awe. "Your Majesty." It was not a title imposed by force, but earned through courage, kindness, and connection. Humans had always dreamed of being more, reaching beyond the stars. And now, one human had shown the galaxy that greatness was possible through humility and heart. Despite the recognition, Ethan felt no arrogance. He walked beside the dragon as equals, not as a ruler over it. That was the secret of the bond: respect, trust, and loyalty. Power was meaningless without wisdom, and wisdom without courage was worthless. He understood this better than anyone. As night fell across the colonies, stars twinkled in endless patterns. Ethan and the dragon sat atop a hill overlooking Nova Prime. The dragon lowered its massive head, resting gently on the ground, nudging Ethan's shoulder softly. He smiled, taking a sip of coffee from his cup, savoring the warmth and calm. "Who would have thought," he whispered, "that something so small could change so much?" The dragon's eyes glimmered, almost as if it understood every word. The bond they shared had proven that even the smallest act of kindness could ripple across the galaxy, shaking civilizations, challenging norms, and inspiring hope. But even in the calm, Ethan noticed something distant, a faint flicker on one of the galaxy-wide comm signals. A dark, irregular transmission, subtle yet unmistakable. He frowned. The message was incomplete, fragmented, but it carried the weight of intent. Something or someone was out there, watching, waiting, perhaps even challenging the newfound respect humans had earned. The dragon stirred beside him, wings unfurling, sensing the subtle disturbance. Its rumble was low, almost warning, but also patient. Together, they watched the cosmos, understanding that their adventure was far from over, for now. The galaxy hailed Ethan as Your Majesty, a human recognized by a dragon, a symbol of courage and compassion. Across worlds, humans and aliens alike celebrated the story. A simple act, a cup of coffee shared with a dragon, had transcended fear, broken barriers, and reshaped the galaxy's perception of humanity. And yet, as Ethan sipped coffee and looked toward the twinkling stars, he could feel the pull of the unknown. The dark signal flickered again, distant yet insistent. The universe, vast and infinite, was full of challenges, mysteries, and new adventures waiting to be discovered. The dragon nudged him again, a silent message of trust and companionship. Ethan smiled. Together, they would face whatever came next. The galaxy whispered his title in awe, Your Majesty. And somewhere deep among the stars, shadows shifted, waiting for the next chapter to unfold.